Hi, welcome to Hope in the Light of Suicide. I'm Tammy White. I'm your host and the founder of the Bobby White Foundation. And I'm glad that you're here with us for this special show. We have a special guest. But first, I want to thank our sponsors and my producer, Area 52 Media Group, producer John Gaston. He has patience with us, with me, and if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be able to bring this awesome information out to you guys. And we really super appreciate him and all the work that he does for us and everybody else for the studio. And of course, DeLynn Gaston from the mortgage firm. Anything mortgages, I'm going to say this every single time. I mean, she is the best mortgage person that you will know. She has years of experience. I won't tell you how long because she might get upset with me, but she has more experience than anybody I know. And she helped me out when I had to do some refinancing after losing Bobby. And that's why I'm able to stay in my home. But yeah, she's got the experience. Anybody from even if you're just a first time home buyer and you don't know what you want to do or how to do anything, or if your credit scores, you just don't know. This woman will guide you through step by step and help you so that you'll be ready when you want to buy especially if you want to buy your first house. She'll hold your hand. She's awesome. That's all I can say that she's awesome all day long. But anyways, she is. So last week during our show, I had mentioned a guy that I had met a few weeks ago. Maybe it's been a month ago or so now. I started kind of expanding my horizons a little bit and going out and meeting some new people. And I joined this business organization down in Tampa. And this is where I met Melvin. And I had mentioned last week that he had started a new nonprofit recently. And I can't pronounce Melvin's name because I don't even think I ever really asked him. But we have Melvin from Stairway for Heroes on our show today. Welcome, Melvin.
Hi, Tammy. Thank you so much for having me. And the last name thing, don't worry about it. I've been dealing with that for years.
How do you pronounce your last name? Because I was
My
never
last name,
introduced to you by that. Just Melvin.
even when I introduce myself to people, I introduce myself as Melvin, but my last name is Azofeifa.
Is what?
Exactly. Azofeifa, and I've heard anything and everything under the sun, especially in the military or my high school buddies. They'll let you know a couple different ways to say it. Some good, some not good.
Oh, I could imagine. Oh, man. Well, we met, like I said, probably a little over a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we hit it off really, just like that. I mean, you are the sweetest man. And,
Thank you
just
very
like
much.
everybody else that I've met so far down at the Center Club, everybody has been, so welcoming, and we all kind of want to do the same thing and help each other out. And
Mm-hmm.
we started talking, and you found out we talked about my foundation, and I found out about what you were doing, and you just started a new
Mm-hmm.
nonprofit at the beginning of this year. But first, before we go into that, I put in our information, the bio that you sent for me. So can you tell us first a little bit about your military history? Because this nonprofit, the focus is for our veterans who have served, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
so tell us a little bit about your military history, a little bit more about you, how
uh,
we got to
well,
where we're at now.
yeah, exactly. Well, first and foremost, Tammy, thank you again for having me here. It's always a pleasure to be able to, to share my story and share where Stairway for Heroes came from. And it's not necessarily about me; it's about the difference that we were trying to make in veterans' lives. But I joined the Navy actually when I was 30 years old. I did I did the college route, got my finance degree, and was looking, had employment, and then Moved into into a different industry than finance. I was in sales for a little bit, but 2008 hit, the economy, and I was bouncing back and forth between RV sales and being a mortgage broker. And on accident, ran into a recruiter, talked to her, and at the time, my daughter was 2 years old. And the biggest benefit that kind of caught me was medical. So I signed the papers and went on my way to the Navy. I spent 9 years in San Diego in multiple places. I went. I'm an admin guy by trade, so finance, accounting, HR is all one in the military. And but From there, for my first assignment in handling, all the waterfront, all the ships on the waterfront, and all their sailors' pay, I decided to take an assignment to Afghanistan. Went to Kabul, Afghanistan. I was there. The positions that you sign up for aren't necessarily the position that you end up for or you end up doing. So I did a little bit of driving around Kabul. I probably have several thousand miles driven in the Kabul area, driving people from forward operating base to forward operating base in a war zone. A lot of fun, great assignment, and then came back to the Navy. Did an operational tour on a squadron that took me on a deployment, not even a year after returning from Afghanistan, on the USS Nimitz carrier out of Washington. So then did that deployment, came back, took another operational assignment to a cruiser, and finally ended up taking my last set of orders, where I was running curriculum and training for my job in the Navy. But even while I was not operational at that time, I still took another assignment to go operational again, to be in charge of pretty much the money for AFRICOM. I was the only guy really in Africa that had money, but I was the dispersing officer for Djibouti, handling a lot of money, in charge of about $25 million. But for me, it just meant that I ended up with a lot of cool pictures with a lot of money that I'll never see again.
Jeez. Well, and so you said you didn't enter the Navy until you were 30, and
Yeah.
that's yeah, I think most people enter when they're in their late teens, early 20s. So,
hmm
um I think that I think that's really cool, really what you did. So when did you leave the military?
It was on my, it all ties in. Joining the Navy at 30, I kind of had my wits about me. Thing that I liked about the military was that they gave you a printed. You know what I mean? You could go and see exactly what it is that you needed to do to get to the next pay grade, at least the wickets that you could do, the jobs and that sort of things that you can do. So that was my goal. My goal was to try to advance as fast as I could. I made chief in the Navy in 8.5 years. And but the problem with that is that I didn't see the damage that it was doing back home. So I've been out of the military for almost a year. I got out last August, and that's kind of where everything started. Where Stairway for Heroes came from. Every veteran has a story. Every veteran has a transition story. Some good, some not good. Mine was not good, and through the process, it really created a lot of stress, a lot of uncertainness, or a lot of uncertainty on what I was going to do, what I was going to do for work. I didn't want the decision to be with my family after so many years to affect my family in a negative impact. And that took me down a dark road that I'm still dealing with today. But I'm proud and happy to say that I can say that I'm on the right side of the percentages, instead of the other side. So That's where the golfing came from. That's where Stairway for Heroes came from. Like I said, a year ago I'll be out, and then, like you said, I started the foundation and hitting the ground running in January of this year.
Well, it's kind of what a lot of us do when we get into this type of work. It's triggered by something that we're going through or something that happened that, in a way, was traumatic. I mean, um, you had mentioned, the transition that our veterans have going from military to civilian life. I don't think really people really, unless they're in that world, really
Mm-hmm.
understand how difficult that it could be at times. I mean, you and I were at an event last week, and
Mm-hmm.
it was a veterans event, and I should have written down what it was. If you could remember, you could say,
Mm-hmm.
but
Oh
they
yeah.
were talking, and that's what it was about.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it was another organization that focuses on helping our veterans go through the transition, which, like you said, can be very, very traumatic. And as you know, I mean, our veteran suicides are extremely high. They're still high. Um, it
Mm-hmm.
is, I heard not too long ago, it is one demographic that um, has had a teeny bit of a drop where other
Mm-hmm.
demographics have not. But there's organizations like yours, and I from working a little bit with a couple of people from James Haley here in Tampa, the
Mm-hmm.
Tampa area, especially because we have a base here, seems to really be trying a whole lot more to um, to address that and to
Mm-hmm.
help our veterans a little bit more. Do you see that?
Yeah. Well, and it is, and by no means do I downplay anything that the military has in place. I mean, there are processes in place and requirements. Being an admin guy, I will tell you that there are definite administrative requirements that you have to meet, as well as medical requirements before you can actually be released from the military. So there are programs that you go through, but there are a lot of them. You know what I mean? And if you have the ability to plan for it, you could do a year out where you could go to the transition class, and then you know what I mean, closer to it, you can go through it again. I wasn't afforded that opportunity, unfortunately, not because the Navy didn't want to, was because mine was voluntary.
Right.
My last set of orders after wanting to stay in Jacksonville to try to finish off the career. I mean, I left at 14 and a half years. So I was super close to the end. And, I talked to my wife and I said, listen, we've never been stationed in Florida. San Diego and Rhode Island is where we spent all our time. And I said, well, let's try to stay in Jacksonville. She goes, well, if it's not that far away, you're not on the other coast, you're only 4 hours away, let's make it work. And we tried, but the orders that I received was taking me to a ship to row to Spain. So
Oh no.
that definitely, yeah, that definitely wasn't going to work. But that was my situation. So my situation is where I voluntarily, told the Navy, listen, this is what we have, what we as a family and as a service member I have going on, and it's best that under their humanitarian assignment that I walk away from it. So I did go through, but there's so much information. I made mistakes even with the VA and medical care. I waited almost 6 months, 5 months, five and a half months before I went and got care because I thought I had to have my disability rating. Well, I didn't. Not in your first year. Well, I'm sure they told me that, but I didn't remember. You know what I mean?
Well,
There's
yeah,
so
you're
much. There's so much stuff. Yeah, so much stuff that
yeah,
they're
you're
going through.
going from one life in a way back
Mm-hmm.
to a totally your former life, but it's not your former life because everything is so much different with what you've
Yeah.
gone through in that
Mm-hmm.
span of 14 and a half years. Where everything is different. And I couldn't
Oh yeah.
imagine the amount of information that is thrown at you guys when you're getting ready to leave the military, and if it um it's like that guy that was the guest the other night.
Mm-hmm.
The transition, I mean, it really needs to start a year, 2 years prior to, in order to possibly make it halfway acceptable, or
You know
it's not
what,
really the right
it's
word, but
well, it's gonna be different. You know, every person is differently. You know what I mean?
right,
I was, lucky enough and blessed enough that we had purchased a home here in Tampa before the prices got all, where they are now, right? So, you know what I mean? I got it at a halfway decent price. We're in the Carrollwood area, so we're close to where I grew up. We're close to everything. You know what I mean? It was a um, great decision that we made, but we were kind of, you know what I mean? This is home.
right,
Most military personnel won't stay in the same location for 9 years straight like I did. They will go to three different locations, and depending on what they do for work, they could have maybe changed 3 or 4 times, where they're going from California to, I don't know, Texas to somewhere else, right? Depending on the service. So there is definitely um, a lot of change that occurs even within just your assignments in the military, to then now when you're getting out is, okay, where am I going to end up? Have you made that decision? And if the decision, for example, is someone who is not in Tampa today, might have grown up here, who has done, let's say, 15, 20, 25 years of service, and now they want to come back to Tampa, they're not looking at the same Tampa. You know what I
oh
mean? You're
no,
not looking at the same prices of homes and prices of vehicles and prices of everything. So, we were lucky enough, and as I mentioned, blessed enough that we had that piece of it. But I didn't know what I was going to do for work. I didn't know
right.
what how things were going to be. I still struggle, and I tell my friends, I was always spoken to by my rank. I years by my rank. Because people couldn't say Azofeifa, right? So it would just be whatever my rank was, and that's what they would say.
Right.
Or my last name ended up being Ace, or my nickname was Ace. So I heard Ace and I heard my rank. Very rarely would you hear Melvin in a military environment, unless it was
Right.
like after hours at home or whatever the case may be. Well, I'm not that guy anymore. I'm Melvin. I will always be a chief. I will always be a part of Navy. The Navy's part of my history, but that is not going forward. I'm Melvin now, and who's Melvin, and what is Melvin going to do, and where am I going to find my joy and my happiness, and what I'm doing now, which is for some people is harder than others. For some people, it's easier than others.
So this is where Stairway for Heels came about, I imagine.
Yes,
So
yes, yes,
tell us about that, because this is brand new. I mean, you just
yes, ma'am.
started this nonprofit.
Yeah.
So
So
tell us
so
about
the the
Stairway for Heroes.
the funny thing was is that last year in May, my wife and I were talking, and being Christian, stairway for heaven, stairway to heaven,
Hmm.
right? You hear that, stairway to heaven, and I always looked at, stairs take you from one location to another, whether it's a building or a house. And I was thinking about it, stairway to heaven, and I was like, you know what, stairway for heroes. I was like, because I want to help to get from one place to another. It's not better or worse. It's just a different place. And that's where Stairway for Heroes kind of came from. It was just a thought that I had. I jumped on it, and I sat on the idea for 7 months, until finally in January I told my wife, listen, I'm just gonna do this. We either gotta do this or we're not gonna do it. And everything is me and the help of my board members that I do have right now. But through my transition and in those dark times, we had friends that introduced me to golf. I had never played golf before in my life. My parents don't play golf. My brother doesn't play golf. It just was, we were not a golf family. It just wasn't in the mix. And I found myself kind of rejuvenated, where I was finding a new challenge. I changed my workout completely. I no longer wanted just to go in and lift weights. I wanted now to change for the game. And the challenge in golf is not so much against the other players, is really against yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's mental. I sometimes tell myself after I hit a bad shot, I was like, how is this helping me mentally? I know somehow it is because I'm here, but it's a terrible shot, and why did it not work? So you know what I mean, that sort of thing. But the camaraderie, the community. I've met people and had conversations with them on the golf course that I probably otherwise would not have had the opportunity to have with them. And it helped me to really, as I mentioned, kind of refocus what I wanted to do. I graduated high school in '97. I played basketball in high school. I have not been competitive since then. I played intramurals in the Navy. I played soccer, played basketball in the Navy as an intramurals with my commands to play against other commands and things like that. But it wasn't the same as what it is now. I have that edge again where I do want to compete, but the competition is with myself to try to just get better. I know I'll never perfect it. It's the hardest game I've ever played in my life, but it has given me, a new avenue to really enjoy entertainment, enjoy the outdoors, enjoy people, have conversations with people, and that's what I want to pass on to our veterans because it helped me, and you know what I mean. And it is a niche. You have to like golf.
Yeah.
But if it is something that you're interested in, we give you the clubs, we give you lessons, and then we're going to give you opportunities throughout the year to play and represent the foundation in other nonprofits or other scrambles that may be available throughout the year, which also gives the foundation and myself an opportunity to give back to other missions, that are just as meaningful and are just as good as the mission that we are doing in Stairway for Heroes.
Well, I see on your Facebook page that you just gifted your first set of golf clubs and lessons to a
Mhm.
veteran.
Yes, yes.
That is
Jay Lesnick was our first recipient. I've gotten such great support, from people like yourself. Like, this is amazing. I really do, really, really do appreciate it. I love talking about it. I get excited talking about it. So thank you, Tammy. But so many other people have helped. I have 4 sets of clubs laying around the house. My wife isn't very happy with it, but they're laying around the house, and I gotta get them cleaned up and then regripped and get them ready for another veteran. And there's 3, and I have another person waiting to give me 2 more. So, sometimes if I don't have them, they're going to be new. If not, then they're going to be pre-loved. But that was my number one objective, was to
well.
try to help people.
Your inaugural event is coming up
Hmm.
on
May
your launch
17th.
party is May 16th, and your
Correct.
inaugural event, the tournament, is on May 17th,
Hmm.
and it is at the Plantation Palms Golf Club.
Hmm.
So, is it best for somebody to email you, call you?
I mean,
How
they
can people
either
participate? Real
either
quick.
or. Yeah, either
Okay.
or. I mean, Stairway. Yeah, stairwayforheroes@gmail.com is the easiest way to. I'm the
Okay.
one that's going to answer it. But the launch event is the 16th. We'll do an instructional period, kind of sip and swing, as we're calling it, with my buddy Albert and Golf Away Club, and then the 17th will be the full tournament, and we're taking people and sponsors all the way up until the 10th, because that's when I have to turn it into the club, the official
Okay. Well,
list.
we'll make sure that any added information we'll put in the comments so it'll be easy for
Hmm.
people to get a hold of you. I want to thank you, Melvin, for being on our show. It's kind of quick. We've never had a guest in this short format, but I'll be
This is
talking to you
excellent.
real
Thank you.
soon. And congratulations on winning the chili cook-off the other night.
Thank you very much.
That was really cool.
2 years running. Now I have a big bullseye on my back, so I gotta I gotta tighten up my recipe.
So, well, I always at the end of our show we have a quote. We'll do this other stuff for Art for Hope later because I wanted to really get this stuff in for Melvin. So, our quote for this show is John. I have to look at it. It's by Maya Angelou. It's a short one. There it is. This is a wonderful day. I've never seen this one before. So we always want to try and end on something positive because that's what this show is, hope. Make sure you keep the phone numbers in your phone, the 988 number, veterans number, all these numbers, have them available. You never know when somebody is going to need them. And like Melvin said, you can sponsor his tournament up until the 10th. This show is available for sponsorships. Art for Hope sponsorships are open. But I'm really glad that we got to have Melvin on here. We'll probably have him on again later in the year, check in and see how things are going. So as everything goes, remember, there's always hope.